Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is the seventh inning stretch. So thank you all for being here and thank you for having me. My name is Stephen Marks. I'm the Municipal Manager for the City of Hoboken. I think I hit the wrong button. Sorry. So for those of you who don't know, Hoboken is the birthplace of baseball and Frank Sinatra. It's also home to the Cake Boss, and it's where On the Waterfront, it's a waterfront community. It's where On the Waterfront was filmed back in the 1950s. It's a low-lying coastal community on the Hudson River across from Midtown Manhattan. We have a population of about 50,000 people, about 25,000 households. City has a budget of about $100 million. It's 1 square mile community. We have combined sewers that were actually built. There's still some sewers in town. Kevin Wynn is here from North Hudson Sewage Authority, but we have combined sewers in town that were actually built before the Civil War, and I think there's still some wooden sewers within the system. So we have been subject to severe and repetitive flooding. We saw Hurricane Irene back in 2011 and Superstorm Sandy in 2012. And this is what the city looked like during both of those events. We actually sustained our residents sustained over $100 million worth of damage from Superstorm Sandy, and in public property damage, we sustained about $25 million worth of damage. About 1,800 homes were flooded during Superstorm Sandy. So this is what Hoboken looks like. The blue area on the left, this is the advisory base flood elevation map from FEMA. The blue area on the left is basically the city is 80% in the flood hazard area. And we're actually looking at 3 plots of land. The one all the way to the left, referring to as Block 12. The one in the center, these are the white squares or triangles or geometric shapes. The one in the center is referred to as the Pino site, and the one on the right-hand side, the kind of Z shape, we refer to as BASF. So the city has a dearth of open space. It's a very dense 50,000 people in 1 square mile, very dense environment. We actually don't even meet New York City standards for parks and recreation, which I think is 2.5 acres per 1,000 residents. So we don't even meet New York City or Manhattan standards for parks. So we've actually targeted those 3 tracts of land on the western side of the city, those white geometric shapes, for open space acquisition. So this was our open space plan that was adopted as part of the 2010 Master Plan Reexamination Report. We are a CSO community. We're also a waterfront community, as I said before, and unlike some other areas of New Jersey and around the country where the waterfronts may be inaccessible, people who are moving to Hoboken are actually demanding more open space and more recreational opportunities. And during the warmer weather months, there's actually a pretty successful kayaking program on the Hudson River. So even though this photo from on the bottom left-hand side is probably shot somewhere on the Jersey City waterfront, a lot of the kayakers go back and forth. So we've been forming partnerships for the last several years. Hoboken is one of 4 communities that's within the North Hudson Sewage Authority area. We consider the North Hudson Sewage Authority a major partner and stakeholder. And we actually partnered with the North Hudson Sewage Authority on a report. MNet is a company out of South Bend, Indiana, that has monitoring systems that go into sewer systems. And because of the flooding situation in town, we partnered with the Sewage Authority, and we hired MNet, and they actually studied the sewer system in Hoboken, and it's actually been very beneficial. North Hudson Sewage Authority has actually used MNet for further studying of their system. So we also participated. Columbia University held the mayor's clinic. They looked at the sewer system. They looked at green infrastructure. And it's an iterative process where one plan, one study begets another one. So it's building a foundation. It's taking steps, and every study puts you further along the path of green infrastructure and kind of leading you to where you want to be. So we were very fortunate. We received it was part of the HUD Sustainable Communities Consortium. It was grant funded through Together North Jersey. It involved the state of New Jersey Transit, many other partners and stakeholders. And they actually, they hired Louis Berger Associates to create a green infrastructure plan. Dan Kennedy's in the back. Dan was very much part of the process. And we appreciate all the support and collaboration and cooperation from the state of New Jersey. And it's this plan that is actually driving what the city is doing and driving what the North Hudson Sewage Authority is doing in town. And it's using green infrastructure for retention, detention, and infiltration. So the green infrastructure is actually the sweet spot where we are adding open space, where we are mitigating flood hazards, and we're trying to address the CSO events that occur in town. We've been using Boswell. We actually have a New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust Fund application, low interest loan for a flood pump to evacuate floodwaters from the kind of the northwestern part of the city. And we didn't want to just have one gray infrastructure project. It's not a complete balance. We wanted to add some green infrastructure. So we actually partnered with Rutgers. Rutgers has the Center for Urban Environmental Sustainability. Two great people, Beth Rabin and Dr. Wolfram Hofer, who were there. They actually have they use their landscape architecture class to go out into the communities and create green infrastructure solutions to recurring problems in urban communities. So they actually did a stormwater management plan for the area around City Hall, and that's part of our application to the Environmental Infrastructure Trust Fund. It's about a $300,000 pilot project that we're going to use to demonstrate to homeowners and private developers. When we ask them to put in rain gardens, we will have a demonstration that they can come out and take a look at. Boswell Engineering has actually been doing the engineering on that. We're actually very fortunate also. Sustainable Jersey funded a curb extension rain garden project. Chris Obrupta and Jeremiah Bergstrom, who are here in the back, did the plans for that, and we've actually used that curb extension rain garden as a template for additional rain gardens from around the city. We're actually going out, and in addition to this one intersection, we have a resurfacing program, 3 contracts that are in different phases of advertising and construction right now. But we are using our resurfacing program to actually incorporate tree pits and rain gardens around the city. We've redesigned Washington Street, which is our main street, and green infrastructure on Washington Street. It will be a major component to improve the aesthetics and the stormwater retention and the quality of life for shoppers and businesses on Washington Street. This is Block 12. This is the area in the southwest part of town. It's a 1-acre site. It's currently a 1-acre parking lot. It has about 123 parking spaces on it. We are planning to rip up the impervious surface and put in a brand new park that will incorporate a lot of the green infrastructure features. And it's actually going to retain 5 inches of rainfall, which equates on that 1-acre tract, equates to about 200,000 gallons of stormwater. That also is, we've applied to the New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure Trust Fund for a $4.2 million low-interest loan. They have principal forgiveness for green infrastructure projects, I think up to $1 million. That is currently, we've submitted a letter of intent to the EIT, and we are currently working with the DEP on the final design and the permitting for this project. The BASF site is a heavily contaminated site. It was originally known as Cognis Henkel. Cognis was a chemical company, a paint manufacturing company in the north end of town. This is a heavily contaminated site with a lot of PCBs. It has to be remediated. Instead of remediating the PCBs, taking it out of the soil and backfilling it with clean fill, the idea is to remove all the contaminated soil and instead of backfilling with clean fill, actually backfilling with structure. The two things that Hoboken is particularly short of are open space and parking. So the idea is similar to Military Park in Newark, which is only a few blocks away from here. Military Park is about 6 acres. This is about 6 acres. Military Park has an underground parking garage. We're planning a parking garage for under this site in that backfilled area that would accommodate about 300 cars. And underneath the parking garage, the subsurface parking garage, we're planning it's still in conceptual phase, but we're planning a stormwater chamber that can hold between 5 million and 10 million gallons of rainwater. And we're actually partnering again with the North Hudson Sewage Authority, and we're hoping to make it part of their long-term control plan. So we were also the beneficiaries of the Rebuild by Design competition, and the Rebuild by Design competition was it's part of the $50 billion package that Congress allocated after Superstorm Sandy, $230 million of which is going towards this project. And it's basically 4 components: coastline protection, so we don't have any more storm surges in the future, as well as green infrastructure for the stormwater and for the storage and resist strategies, and then discharge, which is additional flood pumps. That's basically it. I also want to recognize Demetrio Arancibia. In terms of forming partnerships, besides North Hudson Sewage Authority, besides the state of New Jersey, the EIT, and the DEP, the counties, I think all 21 counties in New Jersey have open space trust funds. Open space trust funds are used for park acquisition, for park development. We were very fortunate to get a $3 million grant for acquisition of Block 12. In addition, we received a $250,000 grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Federation, which is paying for the design engineering, and we're going for the low interest loan for the actual construction. So in terms of your long-term control plans, it's about forming partnerships. It's about reaching out to other people who have a stake in your community, whether it's the county or sewage authorities or whomever, even nonprofits. Sustainable Jersey is a great partner. And seeing what resources, either financial resources or technical resources, that they have to help you with your community. That's my presentation. Thank you very much.